purified state. And what part of us is left that differentiates us from other spirit souls? You know, like if we maintain our identity, then what is it that about us that, you know, sort of indicates that we're somehow individual? And anyway, this question, you know, was in my mind. I had trouble kind of formulating in the first place, and I asked Trivik Maharaj about it, and it's almost like he didn't understand, you know, the question or what I was asking. Anyway, I refined it, and then I put it to the Bhagavad Gita class on the Tuesday night, and what's his name? The other older, what's his name? Tarit Krishna. He said it's Rasa, you know, so it's like for every individual there's a particular Rasa, or, you know, mood that differentiates them from everybody else, and that's where the individuality comes in. So that's how he explained it, which is like, wow, that's amazing, you know, like there's so much potential. And with all the beings, all the spirit souls that have ever been created have the same potential for, you know, a personal relationship with the Lord through their, you know, the particular mood that they might be.
Sorry, say that last part again.
That they would have a particular mood that differentiates them from everyone else. So each individual spirit soul, you know, has that as their inner being, you know, their existence. Is somehow that rasa in all the different kind of permutations, you know, is there for each individual soul. I just found that extraordinary, like, because, you know, the Lord's infinite, you know, and this is an indication of that infinity and the potential for a relationship.
To rasa, yeah, it gives another dimension to.
Oh, it's just
you know, just another really nice way to see it, understand.
Because I'm sort of thinking about myself, of course, like, well, you know, where do I fit into that? You know, I'm sort of asking this question about, well, what's my, you know, and it, you know, it will reveal itself, sort of thing. But yeah, and then this question sort of arose, well, how is it that you maintain individuality if all your conditioning, once all your conditioning sort of disappears, then what's left? The spirit soul. And then there's that transcendental relationship that is already there but has been uncovered, you know, through the purification of practice and Guru's grace.
Okay, well, it's a high subject, and it's a very deep and complex subject matter also. And I can say something based on what we've heard, but, you know, I don't feel like I'm qualified to properly answer or to go into these kinds of subjects. But it's also an interesting question, and it brings up some you know, quite relevant points, you know, to our position here and now. And one is that actually we have, you know, constitutionally we are not really fit to enter that superior plane. We are constitutionally of an inferior substance. You know, we are Tatasta Shakti. And like, you know, it's like Srila Sridhar gives an example of a passport. So like just like uncovering the layers and realizing our position as soul, that's you know, it's not like then that qualifies us for entering that plane. You know, that's you know, first of all, that's only by through a matter of grace, not by right. The soil, there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Srila Sridhar Maharaj would quote, Vaikunter Prithvivyadi Sakala Chinmoy, that the earth, the water, the trees, everything there is Chinmoy. Everything there is made of conscious, divine, spiritual substance. And then that is all superior to the very stuff that we are made of. So the earth there is worshipable to us. Everything there is superior and worshipable to us. And so we don't have any right, actually, as souls, as Tatastha Shakti, to enter that plane. It's only through a matter of grace. And in terms of you know, the rasas that the souls of that who gain entrance to that world, you know, what rasa they will be, you know, more connected with. That we are told, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has discussed this a little bit in some places, that it is like that there is an individual potential in seed form in every soul. That every soul actually is disposed towards a particular type of rasa, towards a particular relationship with Krishna. But it is, you know, when those layers are removed, you know, we're in that state of realizing ourselves as soul, but that potential of exchanging rasa with Krishna, that's another matter, you know, and that's something that will be in a very, you know, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave one example. He said in Japan he'd heard they were storing books in like these like micro forms, like you need like a microscope or you know, just a normal, what do you call it, magnifying glass wasn't enough, but like it's like maybe a microscope is going too far, but you couldn't just read the books. It was like they were printing them for storage in like some tiny form. So like in that way, in a very tiny potential form, there you know, every soul, there is some, you know, some predisposition to you know, to enter into particular rasa with Krishna. And I mean, there are some extraordinary things, you know, which we've heard. Srila Sridhar Maharaj has also mentioned in one place that, you know, what is the Brahma Jyoti actually? You know, generally we hear it's the effulgence of Krishna. And so, you know, so from that perspective, all the souls, they're actually composed of the Jyoti of Krishna, of the effulgence of Krishna's body. So that's, you know, generally what we hear. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj has also mentioned, you know, actually the souls of that, you know, the Sarup Shakti, the souls of that world, they have effulgences also. And so some of the souls in the Brahma Jyoti, they're actually, you know, part of the effulgence of particular serving entities in that world. And so you know, Srimati Radharani has her effulgence. You know, he mentioned Rupa Goswami has his effulgence. And so some souls, they may be from the halo, the effulgence of one of these particular serving, you know, members of Vrindavan. And so then they would be disposed to service in that rasa. You know. So, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj didn't go into it too much, and I don't think he really wanted to, at least in the, it's published, Jaggi Maharaj published it. And he didn't like, you know, he didn't directly say like if someone's in that effulgence, then they are predisposed to that rasa. He didn't directly say that, but he indicated that. And somebody asked him, about Srila Rupa, I think, like, who are those in the effulgence of Rupa Goswami? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, they are Rupanugas. No. And he didn't go into it, you know. But that opens up a lot of questions, you know, like you know, our gurus have come with this and come with this line, the Rupanuga line. And they're announcing Radha Dasyam, the service of Srimati Radharani is the highest thing. But then, you know, all the souls who come like to this line, like, are some of them actually predisposed to actually get it, and some predisposed to not get it? You know, opens up a lot of questions. You know, but anyhow, we don't analyze those things too much. But yeah, I mean, and there's if you're asking about rasa, then we can also say it is a dynamic thing, and it's not that some, there's also like crossovers, some souls will have, like Nityananda Prabhu or Baladev, Lord Balaram, he has, we'll hear of him as being in Sakya Ras, the mood of like friendship, but he also has there's also some mood of Vatsalya Ras, the mood of a superior, of a guardian. Are you familiar with the 5 principal rasas? Okay, well then we can say briefly.
Certitude, friendship, parents, another.
There's also Shanta Ras, means Shanta peace, means indicates a passive relationship with Krishna. And that refers to the plant life, the rivers, animals like that. And then Dasya Ras in the mood of servitorship, Sakya Ras in the mood more, there's developing levels of intimacy, and Sakya Ras friendship, Vatsalya Ras the mood of a guardian, superior, and then Madhura Ras, a conjugal relationship. So some of the members of these different rasas, there's some mix there, they like Baladev, he's both in Sakya Ras and Vatsalya, like as the older brother. And then we hear of others who are in Sakya Ras, but they have some connection with Madhura Ras, also like Subal, Saka.
Can you talk a little bit more about the first rasa?
Shanta.
Shanta.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard a lot about that before.
Well, it indicates a mood of complete surrender to Krishna, complete adherence to Krishna's will, but there's no like an active relationship. So in Vrindavan, we'll normally hear the examples of the earth, the grass, the trees, shrubs, the river Jamuna, all of these things. They have a relationship with Krishna, a deep connection of love, but it's not being, exchanged in an active way. And Prahlad Maharaj, he's described as being, he's often described as being the paragon of Shanta Ras, or he's like a great example of Shanta Ras, because in the Brihad, have you heard of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita? That might be something you want to go through. It's very helpful because Srila Sridhar Maharaj would recommend devotees to read it, because it's going through the gradation within this world and then also in the higher world. I mean, the whole of existence, But in the first, it's in 3 volumes, and the first one, Narada Muni, he's on a quest to find the best devotee, and so he goes to first he goes to devotees in this world, and every devotee he goes to says, "Oh no, I'm not a real devotee," and points to somebody else. And so what actually happens is there's a development here where he's going to devotees with more and more developed degree of devotion, we can say. And so first he's going to devotees who have some mixture, not pure bhakti. But there's karma mishra bhakti mixed with worldly desires, worldly activity. And so Lord Brahma, he's like the epitome of karma mishra bhakti. You know, he's a great devotee of Krishna actually, but he has some attachment to this world, to his position, like that. And then Lord Shiva, he's presented as jnana mishra bhakti, devotion mixed with desire for knowledge, liberation, these things. And there's others there also described, but they're like presented as the epitome of those two lines. And then Prahlad Maharaj he's given a very important position in our line actually, because he's presented as being the starting point of pure devotion, of Shuddha Bhakti, of pure Bhakti. In that he has no desire for anything of this world. You know, his devotion for the Lord is unmixed with anything secondary. So Prahlad Maharaj is given an important position, which is, you know, it's significant because he is situated in Shantaras, you know, which will be conceived of as the lowest of the 5 rasas. But you know, our gurus have put a lot of emphasis on him because you know, before we go jumping to higher things, first we need to understand like what is the platform of real devotion. You know, what is the foundation of that? And so the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj are very valuable for us because he speaks about this, you know, this point. Nrsingadev wants to give him a boon, you know, after he's killed Hiranyakashipu, and he's so pleased with Prahlad's pure devotion, and he wants to give him a boon. And Prahlad is like a little offended by that, you know, someone who's serving you, but has some ulterior motive, or that service is mixed with their own desire. Then he says they're not a real servant, they're not a real devotee, they're actually a merchant or a businessman. So he's very fixed in this mood of devotion for the Lord without wanting anything for himself. And so Narada Muni, he comes to, and it's also, there's some humor here because Prahlad is the disciple of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni is like praising his disciple as being the best of all devotees of Krishna. And so, you know, it's already really embarrassing if someone's giving you that praise, but it's his own guru. So Prahlad is like totally mortified. And so then Prahlad, he points to Hanuman, because Hanuman is situated in Dasyaras, which according to Tatastha Vichar is another helpful term. It means impartial analysis. So according to, because this is the thing, you know, each of you know, all of the devotees, they, in their respective rasas, they're very satisfied. They're very happy. They may be able to like look in a neutral mood and say, okay, this rasa is superior to mine, but I'm happy where I am. I don't feel a need to go there. So according to Tatastha Vichar, impartial analysis, then Hanuman's in a higher position to Prahlad, because Hanuman's relationship is more active. You know, Prahlad is not actively serving the Lord, but he's in this mood of you know, love and surrender and adherence to the Lord, and free from any personal ambition. But there's no like active relationship. It, you know, within the relationship is there, but it's not active in the way that Hanuman, he is, you know, very actively serving the Lord, protecting the Lord, you know, providing for the Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj points to Hanuman. Oh, he's go to him. He's the guy you're looking for. I don't have any real service. I just like sit here and meditate on the Lord. I'm nobody, you know. But Hanuman, he gets to do so many things, and Ramchandra keeps him with him, and so you go to Hanuman. And then Hanuman, he points to the Pandavas, because the Pandavas have they're in the mood of Sakya Ras, friendship. So they have a more intimate relationship. Krishna treats them in a more intimate way. So Hanuman points to them. But yeah, I mean, this point about Shantaras, it is very nice, because it it's like the example of Prahlad, his mood of devotion. It's very helpful for us as showing like all the other things you're looking at in the higher rasas. This is what it's built on. Because if you look at the service of the Braja Gopis and their relationship with Krishna, it's very easy to misunderstand that. It looks like some material thing. But if you look at this gradation, and you look at what is that built on, then you can understand, how pure it is. And so like the Brihad Bhagavatamrita is demonstrating that, because it's leading to the Braja Gopis as having the highest position. And so if you see like all the other, and this is another interesting point, that each rasa, it has all the characteristics of the rasas before it. So Dasya Ras has the mood of Shanta and Dasya, then Sakya has the mood of Shanta, Dasya, and Sakya, and so on. And so Madhura Ras, it is the most complete ras, and all the other rasas are within it. They are included within it. And so, but our gurus have put some emphasis on the example of Prahlad Maharaj. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he sent some of his sannyasis to lead the Braja Mandal Parikrama in Vrindavan, and the Kartik Parikrama in Vrindavan, and he instructed, maybe it was Bharati Maharaj, one of his sannyasis, to like in the classes that you're giving in all the sites of pilgrimage, I want you to preach the teachings of Prahlad Charit, that section of Bhagavatam dealing with the life and the teachings of Prahlad. I want you to put some focus on that in your discussions. And, which is surprising, because you're in Vrindavan, but talking about Prahlad, and so, you'll have like snobs who will say like, oh, we're just going to talk about the Rasa Leela, thank you very much, But Saraswati Thakur's point is like, let's make a real approach here. Like, first let's understand what the basis is before we go jumping to all these higher things. Otherwise we become sahaja.
That's why it's always recommended to study Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning, like the first canto, and progressively go through it rather than going straight to...
Yeah, absolutely. And Srila Gurudev was cautious about devotees reading Bhagavatam, and if they did, he would want that they go through, not just go through from beginning to the end in sequence, but go through all the purports of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, carefully. Because unfortunately there are persons who do that. They just jump to that part.
Go crazy.
Yeah, Srila Saraswati Thakur, one year when he was in Vrindavan, he had an old school friend who came to visit him. Srila Saraswati Thakur was with his party, and there was an old school friend who came to visit him. And then Saraswati Thakur went to return his visit. But when he went to reach his friend's house, when he entered, he saw there was a Bhagavat Path going on, but they were just going through the 10th canto, and so Saraswati Thakur just gave his dandava and he left, and his friend came out. Oh, what happened? Is everything okay? Our gurus have told us, we're not qualified, to hear such things. So a lot of caution has been given. And another on this subject matter, another point that comes to mind is that Srila Maharaj has talked about different serving moods well, he was speaking in particular about the Braja Gopis and how some of them, they're more fixed in their particular services, and then there are others who he called Kama Rupa, and their mood was more like a suicide squad. Like they were ready to assume, in the sense that they're ready to assume any position of service. Suicide squad's maybe not. Well, they are like Suicide Squad, but maybe here it's not the right word. But he gave the example, like in an army, you have people who are in the Navy section, the naval section, and you have the Air Force, then you have the land force, like that. So there are some soldiers who are trained in like one particular area, but there are others who are trained in all and they're ready to take on any duty. And so in the same way, this particular group of Braja Gopis, they have that type
Commandos
of
or something. Navy SEALs. These hot shots.
So they have that mood of being able to, whatever role is required for them at any particular time, they're ready for that. But we're very fortunate because we're connected to our line of gurus, and we don't have to worry about, like, on a personal level, like what's my rasa? That will all be revealed in due course of time. Our gurus are, we have that inheritance. It's there for us, and now we're minors. But when we come of age, then that will be given. Because it is actually important to discuss this, because there are some groups, we don't need to mention names, but they think that we need to artificially begin meditating on that. And we need to start preparing now for that, They'll even give initiation, siddha deha. Siddha deha means your perfected body, your spiritual form. So they think that needs to be told to us now, and we need to start meditating on that, preparing for that. But it's actually very dangerous.
Yeah, so there's a tendency for the material mind to kind of, I suppose, examine, and put it into material kind of perception.
Exactly.
And so that's,
Yeah.
and this idea that that I'm never good enough anyway, and so there's this tendency to kind of perhaps miss out on just being humble, and patient in the process. And it sounds like that's what.
The thing is, we have no reference point.
Yeah.
Whatever
That's
reference
it.
point we have is.
It's only in the mind.
Is this world? Is our experience of this world?
Yeah.
So, and as you said, the Srila Saraswati Thakur, he expressed this in one way. He said the senses are like vultures, and whatever they see, they want to make it their food. And so whatever we hear about these, higher pastimes, it will just become an object of our sense experience, because we're still in that consciousness. So everything we are living in the mood that we are the subject, and whatever we're perceiving through our senses, that is an object to our subjectivity. But what we're approaching is the super-subjective plane. It's a plane that is superior to us in every way. So, until we become free of all these, mundane connotations, mundane identification, this mundane identification we have, it's not safe for us. It's dangerous because it can injure us, before we've begun to properly approach the thing. So, but our gurus they're preparing us, and when we're ready, it will be revealed to us, and it's actually a lack of faith that persons think they need to. Oh, I'm not being taken care of. Guru and Krishna are not looking out for me, so I need to myself independently start to prepare for this. They know when we're ready. They're taking care of us. And it's also just a symptom of not really being practicing in a deep way, because anyone who's seriously practicing Krishna consciousness, you realize you're very busy as it is, dealing with your own stuff, dealing with all of our anartas. That keeps you very busy. If if we're actually practicing in a conscious way, then all of this purification is taking place, and that keeps us engaged. I had a nice talk with Janaki yesterday, and she was speaking about her period in the ashram, and she was saying how it was so intense for her because she was dealing with all these layers, coming out. So, it's one way Goswami Maharaj put it, was it's like you're bored, or your spiritual life is stagnant, so you need to spice it up a bit. But if you're actually consciously practicing and trying to serve, then that keeps you busy enough, as it is. And when that wants to, and Srila Gurudev, he would, a few times heard him say, when Krishna wants to come, he will come. He doesn't need any invitation. When it's time for that, you won't, he said, when it's time for that, you won't be able to stop it. It will come of its own accord, when we are ready for that. So, we're very fortunate because our gurus they want to give us the real thing. They don't want to cheat us. So they're giving us the real line of progress. And what was it I was going to say? Can't remember. Different points are popping up. Yeah. It's a very deep subject matter. But Gurudev would say that, I don't want to cheat anybody. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj too, there's a really nice talk he gave saying, I want real Krishna. I don't want the Krishna of someone's imagination. I don't want marketplace Krishna. And if I have to wait millions of lifetimes to get that, then I'm ready. That doesn't matter, actually. What's actually meaningful and significant is that I'm on the real path of truth.
Yeah.
And also, I forgot, I wanted to say in the beginning, since the topic was Rasa, that there's one definition. It's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, and a few times I heard Gurudev quote it. It gives a definition of Rasa, and it it's also relevant to this point we're making now, that begins Vyatitya Bhavana Vartman, saying that rasa is that thing which is completely beyond the perception of your senses, and it is so extraordinarily wonderful, like something like that, something inconceivably extraordinarily wonderful and joyful, And it's completely beyond the plane of your senses, of your sense perception. So like what rasa is, we're not able to understand. Well, there's prakrita ras and there's aprakrita ras. Prakrita, you know this word prakrita, right?
No, I haven't heard that.
Prakriti.
Oh, Prakriti.
Prakrita, there's prakriti, which we use to refer to the material energy. Then prakrita means they must be related. Prakrita means material. And then aprakrita means not material. So there's prakrita rasa and there's aprakrita rasa. And these words are very helpful, prakrita and aprakrita, because Krishna, you'll see in Golden Volcano, Srila Sridhar Maharaj describes 5 levels of knowledge. And the first most base one is the knowledge that we acquire from our senses, and then there's the knowledge that's acquired from other person's senses, and then there's this I can't remember all the terms, but then there's this like hazy plane of consciousness, and then there's the adhokshaja plane. And it's also interesting because it's a helpful framework, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he points out like we can look at different ideologies of the world and understand like their highest ideal is connected to which plane of knowledge. So the 4th plane is the adhokshaja plane, which refers to the transcendental plane, beyond the material world. But it literally adhokshaja, it means something like that which is, it's translated as transcendental, or that which is beyond the purview of our mundane senses. And literally, Gurudev, there's one phrase Gurudev would quote, breaking it up, and it means like that which comes down and knocks down our worldly experience. It has that type of power, and we can only know that plane if it descends and reveals itself to us. So in a general sense, the whole of the transcendental world will be described as adhokshaja. However, there's a 5th level, and that is the aprakrita. And aprakrita is peculiar because aprakrita is transcendental, but it's appearing as ordinary. This is the curious thing about Krishna Lila. So that's why this word aprakrita is used, because it indicates that it appears to be prakrita, but it's actually not. So it's aprakrita, not material. It's appearing to be material, but it's not. So this is a helpful way of understanding Krishna Lila, as appearing to be material, appearing to be prakrita, but it's not. It's opposing.
Yeah, right.
So then in terms of rasa, we can understand there's material rasa, like the taste that we experience in this world, and all the exchanges, the relationships that we have, and the things that we do, and things that we eat, etc. But then there's also the spiritual rasa, which is exchanged between Krishna and devotees of Vrindavan. And so Vrindavan is the most developed place because there's such a great degree of rasa there. It's on so many levels. We were discussing, some of that yesterday. But then, also, if you look at all the disturbances in Vrindavan, why are there disturbances there? Because that's contributing to the rasa, the exchange of rasa. When Krishna is dancing on the Kaliya serpent, Mother Jashoda is in agony, that's intensifying her love. You know, all the demons there. You know, they're all serving to intensify the rasa. And we can say that like the rasa we experience in this world, and also we don't really like to use the word rasa to refer to. I mean, you can, but we like to reserve it more for that higher. But what we do experience in this world, it gives us some tiny indication, in the meaningful relationships that we have, and whatever scattered joy that we experience, it all gives us just a tiny hint, of what is in that higher plane. And many people they subscribe to different ideologies, but they're missing this point of rasa. The Buddhist conception, the Mayavad conception. They're eliminating rasa. And actually a lot of people I don't think they really realize where this is taking them. Yeah. What you're doing is denying the need that you have for rasa in your heart. That's the most essential and intrinsic thing that we all need, that we're all looking for.
Yeah, it's simple, really.
And this word rasa, it's usually in our books, it's used to indicate a particular relationship. Mm-hmm. So it has that usage, but in a broader sense, it just means, what we're saying, like this, like deep satisfaction, fulfillment, taste. It also just means juice, if you're in Bengal, if you ask for rasa, it means the wet sabji. So in a very general sense, it means like the juice in life, like that. But in our books, mostly see that usage of describing a particular relationship with the Lord.
Makes sense, But it's so simple, and the simple things are really sort of, you can go into the complexity and things, but it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's really simple.
Yeah. It's totally true. We don't need to make it so complicated.
Because for me, all there is, in a sense, is that beautiful kind of feeling, a rasa, if you want to call it, that I get, and that it's that, I don't know, it's just that beautiful kind of energy that comes from higher things, from Guru or from wherever, and that's the only thing that means anything to me, really. It's just that sensation, and that's it. It's that sweet sort of power, lovely, magnetic, sweet power that I feel just lock onto your mind, the eye of your heart just locks onto. It's like one of those male bees with his head stuck in the honey, all day, and that's all I want to be, is just that,
Very nice.
And it's that's all there is, really. It's just that. It's as simple as that, That's the only thing that there is that means anything that's worth. It's just that, and that's the only thing that takes you out of this, And sometimes it comes at you, and if you're really lucky, it'll take up residence for a short time or something in here.
Beautiful.
And then you feel it. Just, oh wow, what's that? That just transformed me. I just, yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's it.
We're touched. We do.
Yeah.
Have a connection, which is really sweet. And it
Yeah.
just interests me that, like,
That's all I want. I'm
in spite of, you know, the
addicted to it.
tendency for myself, like, you know, I feel I have to strive for things. You know, there's that condition where, you know, if I don't do it, it won't happen kind of mentality is there. And that pertains to so much involvement with material kind of thing, that when it comes to spirituality, it's like letting go of that need to kind of make an effort, even like to really surrender and die, you know, die to live, as you know,
give up all the angst.
is saying, you know, so, and that sort of process of dying like that is like receiving the sweetness sort of thing. That's where it comes in when we create a space somehow.
Yeah, it gets created. Yeah.
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 You know,
I mean, that's what I was doing.
and it's
you
grace.
know.
It's, you know, it's grace operating. So this energy is coming from above, you know, from the transcendental realms, and it's like the soul recognises that. So,
Yeah, I think that's why that interests me, that passive kind of rasa, because you know, I can get into this headspace of, I need to do more, or I need to have more faith, or I need to be more on the path, or and rather than just accepting where I am and that it's perfect where I am and it's all taken care of, you know, it's here I am.
yeah, that's deep faith.
You don't need to worry.
You just trust
Even
in
if you
it.
don't feel much faith, like in a funny kind of way, just to let that be as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, that's where I am. I'm vacillating. You know, I'm still not 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
When are you
we need to
100%?
go at our own pace.
Yeah.
And it's damaging to faith to either put that pressure on yourself or for others to put that pressure on you. So it's important to move at the pace that you're ready for, you know, that you're comfortable with. Otherwise it can injure you prematurely.
Yeah. And it's not really, for me, it's not very authentic. You know.
Yeah.
It's being imposed on either by others or by myself, you know, to be at a certain place, wherever that is. I don't even know where it is. So, but
we also don't want to resist anything.
Yeah.
If something is naturally pulling us, then, because that's another thing. You know, it's one thing for us to put artificial pressure, for others to put artificial pressure. That's not healthy. But at the same time, if there's some like natural pull coming from us, or something that's descending to our heart, we don't want to resist that. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, we want to consciously move forward.
Yeah. Take a step every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you know, what I mean is like be open to it. You know, be open to where we may be pulled in a genuine way, not in an artificial way. Because we can limit ourselves, you know, also sometimes. I just want to read this. I was just looking up this verse. It's really really nice. This is Srila Rupa Goswami's verse, definition of rasa. Yatitya bhavana vartma yascha matkara bhadavu hridi sajvo jwale badam sadate saraso mata. That which is beyond the scope of thought, extremely wonderful, and most deeply relished in a heart shining with pure goodness is known as rasa. Something really, really awesome that you're not able to experience. We're not able to experience right now. Just giving us some idea, hazy idea. Something that you can't understand, but it's really amazing. You gotta try it. Srila she made that comment that we should put on the entrance of at the entrance of our temples, welcome. No entrance. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say was in connection with like the line of gurus that we're connected with, like they're taking care of us, and by their grace we can go like from this plane to that highest plane, because some souls, they'll like in this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, in the second part, it charts the journey of Gopa Kumar. He's a cowherd boy who very gradually, in a step-by-step way, he goes through all the different layers of the material universe, and then he goes through all the different planes within the spiritual universe also. And I mean, it's helpful because it's showing the gradation of things. And so some souls, they may progress in that way. But Srila Gurudev, somebody asked him about this, like, is that how we will need to like progress? Like, if we're like ready, then in our next life we'll go to, now we're in Borloka, then we go to Swa Loka, the like that, and we go and then we have to go through Shiva Loka and Vaikuntha Loka and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
and
it's all here.
You've got it all here.
Yeah.
And Srila Gurudev said no. He said if someone's connected with this line, with the Rupanuga line, it's like an elevator. So you can go like from here to there. You don't have to go like through all these different levels. So we it's like we're children who are in the care of a great guardian, and they're really taking care of us. We just want to try to stay under their shelter. That's all.
Get on the elevator with them. That's a beautiful image, isn't it? Like all of us sort of squeeze them and come on, get in the elevator before the door shuts. Let's go.
Yeah, it figures, because it's where we came from. It's like where we go back to kind of thing. Like we're here now, we're in this state for a very good reason, and then and you're in this way for good reasons. It's all like it is for really good, ahamkara is like it is for a good reason, all that, But yeah, you sort of, there it is. You can go fast.
Well, that's another question that kind of I contemplate is that, okay, so if we've come from that transcendental realm, where it's everything's so completely joyful and full of bliss and knowledge and so on, how is it that we could possibly fall from there?
Well, we haven't. And this is a major point of debate.
Yeah,
because there are persons in ISKCON, they think that they've understood from Srila Prabhupada that that's what he said, but it's actually not what he said. And this is like people go crazy over this.
Yeah. It's a very Christian idea too, I think. This idea of falling from grace.
Yeah, no.
It's just doctrine, that's just in Christianity. It's, I mean, it's not real. It's doctrine, It's a means to create a state, to, bring you to a certain point within your psychology, your psyche.
But that hasn't been stated anywhere,
truth.
actually.
Yeah,
this is a conclusion that people have drawn.
Yeah.
But it's not stated anywhere. And it's directly said in Bhagavad Gita that once you enter that plane, there's no going back. How does that verse? Natad basayato suryo na shashunko na pavaka madama mamam, I can't remember, but like that. But see, look, we're from there, the Brahmajyoti.
Yeah, that's it.
That's like constitutionally, we're from that middle zone.
Right.
And this is a point which has been like brought up to Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj again and again and again, because people get so confused about this point, because there's this idea that we're from up there, Goloka Vrindavan, and we fell. But Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj have very clearly, patiently, and I'm just I'm just giving a very rough answer, but like in detail, you know, they've gone into this, and I mean, I could find some of those discussions for you. But no, we're from there, the white part, the Brahmajyoti.
And it's kind of in between, like it's the marginal position.
Exactly. We're Tatasta Shakti. Tata means the bank, on the shore. Sta, situated. That's where we're from. That's what we are. Tatasta Shakti. So we've never been there. However, we are inherently, disposed towards that. And as I said in the beginning, this is what I was saying in the beginning, you know, that there's some seed, you know, we are inherently, have some seed form of a service mood in that higher world, but it's not developed. It's like in an embryo form within us.
Yes.
But otherwise, we are consciousness. You know, we're conscious units. But you know that embryo form of a particular serving mood in the higher plane, that is there, but it's undeveloped. And so then we're told, you know, there's the point about free will. Consciousness means free will. So because Krishna wants real loving relationships, he doesn't just want robots, then all souls have this element of free will. And so they choose, you know, if they want to go there or not. And so we're told, you know, Gurudev would say sometimes, like, you know, 99.9 or like that, you know, of the souls, they're naturally attracted to that higher.
So do they just kind of make their progress from Brahmajyoti to the Vaikuntha from
the thing is, because they're in such a pure state, there's zero resistance. I mean, I haven't heard detail, but as I understand, they're just naturally attracted to that, and they enter that. They're embraced.
Yeah.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives the wonderful example of a mother holding her boy on her lap, and how in the Vedic tradition, you know, the feet of the mother are worshipable, right? And you know, the mother is worshipable to the children. And so to put your feet on your mother, that's like very disrespectful. But if the mother puts her child in her lap, that's like a very wonderful, loving thing. So in the same way, like we're inferior to that higher plane, but if the members of that plane like take us on their lap, like in this loving, you know, mood, then like on grace, on the basis of love and grace, we'll be embraced by the members of that plane. So as I've understood, you know, they're attracted and they immediately enter and they're embraced by the members of that plane. And yeah, I haven't heard details, you know how they'll enter their service duties and life. But then there's this small percentage, and this is the point that gets tricky, and this is the point that brings up hours of debate. Like, why do those souls choose?
That's the question.
Yeah,
You know,
being ready.
why? Why? Like, what is it about us that made us choose? You know, and I mean, I you know, I hear some of these recordings, like they're patiently like going through this with the souls, you know. But ultimately, and Gurudev mentions this in Revealed Truth, it's a chincha, it's inconceivable, and it's also just, to me, it just seems like common sense that if there's the element of free will, then it's inevitable. There's going to be a few, you know, and they don't know what they're getting into either. It's like some curiosity is there. And then, oh, it's too late now.
Well, it comes to that point, like, you know, why worry about that so much? Just understand that you are under these conditions.
And don't waste your time analysing that.
Asking why, you know. But maybe what can I do?
Exactly.
Here, you know?
Exactly.
Be there. Yeah, just really
now
be
we
there.
have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then another way Gurudev explained it was like there's the sand, like we were walking on the beach the other day, there's the sand, there's the ocean, and then there's this like middle area where the waves of the ocean are coming up, and some sand is like going back into the ocean. You know? So in the same way, you know, we're like right in that middle zone. So it's very easy for us to you know, some are going to be here, some are going to be there, you know. And the thing about the Tatastha Shakti is by our nature we need to take shelter of a greater power. So we can take shelter of the Maya Shakti, or we can take shelter of the Swarup Shakti. So it's easy for us to be caught up by the Maya Shakti, because it's a greater, we are actually superior Shakti than Maya Shakti, but because the Maya Shakti is so big and we're so small, then it's easy for us to come under that. But anyhow, the point you made is very correct, you know. No need to cry over spilt milk. And I heard this was just one of the most amazing talks of Gurudev I ever heard. And I published this part, and it's on the Jayashri website. Oh, I didn't publish the full discussion, but the conclusion. And so there was this group of devotees, and it's about 40 minutes to an hour, but at least for a good 40 minutes. There's this group of devotees who are really taxing Gurudev and pressing him on this point, you know, and going round and round and round. And Gurudev's like just patiently, you know. And not that it was the first time, like this is like a hot issue, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's very Western, isn't it? We want to get somewhere. How can we? We want to buy it all now, you know. We want to own that, you know.
Well, it's more like we want to like make this a prisoner of our brain. Like we want to like understand this in like deep detail, you know. But you can't, you know.
Yeah.
So Gurudev was like patiently answering them, and then somebody there. And then Gurudev's also, there are these sannyasis with him, and he's turning to them sometimes you know, sometimes asking them for, how do you say this in English, or asking them for their input, like that. And then one of them, he mentioned this analogy that Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives to the material energy being like a type of intoxication. You know, how, you know, you're not in your normal consciousness, you're under the influence of this intoxication, right? So the material energy is like that. And then it was so funny because Gurudev, you know, I mean, like as an observer, if you were there in the moment, it would be more like a natural segue. But like as an observer, like watching this on a video screen, it was quite like marked to me. Like Gurudev like just suddenly changed the subject, and he started talking about devotees who struggle with intoxication, like in a real sense, like alcohol, drugs. And so he was asking this sannyasi who made this point, yeah, what is your view on that? Like, how can we help devotees who struggle with that, with alcohol, with drugs? And so then this whole other discussion started, and so that was that, and so there were lots of things that were discussed about how to help devotees and who struggle with that, what type of help they can get. It went on for some time, and then there was a devotee like in the audience there who this like struck a chord with him, and he asked Gurudev, you know, what's the real remedy for this? And he was saying, like, living in the material, he was talking about the West. Living in the West, we feel like we're victims because, like, all this, you know, all this stuff, you know, alcohol and so on, it's all being like thrown at us. Yeah. So it's like we're victims. And then Gurudev, and this was just so brilliant. And then Gurudev, he responded in this very like funny way, like he said, he started out in this very like teasing way, like saying, yes, I know what the real remedy is, no, but I cannot say what it is. And it was like he was leading up to something, and we weren't quite sure where you're not quite sure where he's coming from. And so he was saying, yes, I know what the real remedy is, but I cannot say. And he was saying, like, in the public meeting, I cannot say. If somebody is fully surrendered to me, and they really want to know what I think, and they can follow that, then I will tell them. Like, if I have that personal connection with someone, then I can tell them. But in the public meeting, he said, who can hear it? Who can follow it? Who can I tell it to? Who can hear it? Who can follow it? It was like this suspense was like he was building this, And then it was obvious that then he started to give the answer, but it was obvious that he was actually going back to that first group who were asking about the Brahma Jyoti and the fall of the Jiva. He was actually talking to them, and not this direct question here, because actually that devotee's question had already been answered, because there'd already been this discussion about how to help devotees who struggle with addiction. So that question had actually, it was kind of like he was expressing his heart, but the question had actually already been answered. And so then Gurudev, in this very funny way, he went back and gave his real answer to those people. And then he started talking about the tendency for needing to intellectualize everything. And he quoted this verse from Bhagavatam, Jnane prayashamudapashya namante eva jivanti sammukaditam bhavati, where it's starting out saying that, that one needs to give up the endeavor for knowledge, just trying to understand everything in your head. And then he was saying, it was so funny, it was really scathing, and he was saying that they want to know how many arms does Nrsingadev have. They want to know what Nrsingadev is eating for breakfast. all these details, they want to know, And then he was telling of this incident. He was in Puri, and there was one man who was insulting our mission, our line a little bit, saying that if somebody hasn't read, I think it was the Govinda Bhashya, which is a commentary of Vedanta Sutra written by Baladevi Jabusha. So this man was saying, if a sannyasi hasn't read this Govinda Bhashya, they're not a real member of the line. They haven't studied this, And Gurudev said, well, you studied it. Do you have 4 arms now? I studied it. Do I have 4 arms now? Are you have Chatur Bhuj, like Lord Vishnu now? Maybe you read it and studied it, but what did you actually get out of it? Maybe you got something here, but really substantially, what did you get? And then he was talking about Trinada Pi Sunichena, how much have you understood this? The humility, tolerance, respect. These are real Vaishnava principles. How much are you following that? And then we need to cross the river. If we need to cross the river, we just need to know how to swim. We don't need to know all the details, about which way the particles are moving, and the water temperature, and all these things. You need to know how to swim. Yeah. It was so brilliant the way Gurudev addressed all this. In this roundabout way.
Yeah. That's what you're doing, man. All those years of drinking and carrying on, I mean, that was what I wanted, It was always, I was just trying to, it was a spiritual path, I was trying to get in that state. That's all I wanted, so I'd just go, oh, right, beer, or whatever came my way, to create this kind of blissful state. It was all I wanted. So it was just that, but it's just, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've looked, I've asked and sort of have said, no, don't regret it. Don't regret that time, that was given to you for a reason. So don't sort of go back on it, yeah, sure, you say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore, but, don't I really got that strongly one time when I was going, oh, that's bad, and it just came at me, this answer from above. No, don't go there, I gave that to you. I gave that to you, don't regret it,
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
In the right spirit, we can see how everything is helping us, supporting us in our progress. But just to go back to the original point, just so it's all very clear.
Yeah.
No, if somebody once enters that world, they will never leave it, unless it's out of their own desire to fulfill some purpose in this world.
Yeah. Bhagavad Gita, it says that karma it's the creative force that brings beings into this world.
So all the associates of Lord Krishna, when he descends, it says that he brings all these paraphernalia and associates with him. So they take on,
and also Mahaprabhu,
human forms, on the earth and play out pastimes.
Yeah.
And the other question that sort of came to my mind was, well, so do the gopis have material bodies? Are their bodies material? Is that possible? Sort of within the on the earth? What's the...
Well...
Not that it really matters, but, sort of...
Right. Well, there's Vrindavan as manifest within this plane, and then there's Vrindavan in that, in the higher plane, right? So, of course, the Vrindavan in the spiritual plane, it's all purely spiritual. Within this world, it is mentioned that there's some mix, because there are some souls who they're like on their. It's mentioned in Brahma Samhita, which is a very helpful book to study. Gurudev emphasized that there are souls who are like in a transition period, and they will appear in as gopis within this world, like as a kind of transition and progression. Like they're still on some path of development. They haven't quite reached perfection yet. But then there will be other gopis who have descended from that higher plane, and their bodies will be purely spiritual, definitely. So as I've understood, in the Gokul, the Vrindavan that appears here, there's some mix.
Okay.
Should we stop there?
I think so.
Yeah, very satisfying to hear you speak
I'll
about.
come back.
Clear up a few
Come back.
misconceptions and so on.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Gauri Goswami Maharaj ki
Jai.
Jai Shri Bhakti Rakshak Shri Hadi Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Shri Ganuga Varga ki Jai Shri Jitini Saraswama ki Jai Shri Guru Guru Ganharva Govinda Sundar ji ki Jai all the assembled devotees ki Jai all the world devotees ki Jai Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan Jai Jai Gaur Premanand
Hari Bol.